hope y'all are having a great day, and today I'll be talking about Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas, the third book in the Throne of Glass series. And yeah, apparently it's pronounced Maas, not Moss, so I'm sorry about mispronouncing that. I hate mispronouncing authors' names, so I always try and find an interview where they say their own name, and Sarah pronounces it Sarah J. Maas. So yeah, the more you know. If you haven't read the series, I would seriously recommend it. Admittedly, I wasn't the biggest fan of Throne of Glass, but Crown of Midnight was such a serious improvement. And then this book, this gem right here, is seriously so incredible and intense, and I am so in love with this series now. I will say that I thought the beginning of this book was kind of slow. I couldn't quite get myself invested in the story, which is always a problem for me with these books. And I've also noticed that with these books, I never devour them. I can't read them quickly. Like Heir of Fire took me weeks to finish, like nearly a month to finish. And at first it was because I wasn't super interested in the story, but then later it was because I didn't want this book to end. And when I finished, I wanted to read another like 1,000 pages or so. I literally thought to myself, I wouldn't mind reading this book for the rest of this year. And that's it for the non-spoilery section, because let's be real, I want to discuss Heir of Fire in great detail. And it's only June right now when I'm recording this, so not many people have read it, so I don't really have anybody to gush with, so I'll just ramble to my camera. That's normal, right? Okay, so Heir of Fire broadens this series' scope and expands to different storylines. The first is our protagonist, Celaena Sardothien, aka Aelin Ashriver Galathenius, who has arrived at Wendelin to confront Queen Maeve and get some information out of her about the word keys and how she can take down the King of Adarlan. Then there's the Glass Castle of Adarlan, where we follow Chaol for most of the time, and sometimes Dorian. And then there's Manaan Blackbeak, whose name I pronounced as Manaan for like half of the book before I watched Sarah J. Maas's interview about Heir of Fire. And she said Manaan, and I was like, whoa, I'm so bad at pronunciation apparently. So, Heir of Fire definitely attempts to expand this series. It's larger and more complicated and so much more epic. Like I said earlier, I thought the beginning was kind of difficult to get into, and some readers might find the switching perspectives kind of jarring at first, but once you get into it, it's just so completely absorbing. In the beginning, I just kept on waiting for something exciting to happen because it felt like the plot just kind of drifted along. But for me, personally, I think the turning point was when Abraxos fought Titus. That was exciting. So yeah, I want to talk about Manaan Blackbeak first. She's one of several new characters introduced in this installment, and I really liked her. I thought the witches were really interesting. Like the different covens and how they're so temperamental but also extremely loyal to their own coven. And these witches have been gathered here by the King of Adarlan, and he has requested that they learn to fly these breeded wyverns. Is it wyverns? Wyverns. And I loved the wyverns. I thought they were so fascinating. Abraxos and Manaan's relationship was just the best thing about Manaan's storyline. They had such a unique bond, the way they kind of claim each other. And let's just face it, as kick-butt as Manaan is, because she's really kick-butt, I thought Abraxos was even cooler. The way he defeated Titus and overcame his like physical deficiencies and showed that he was worthy to be claimed by Manaan. He was just seriously the best. I'm still not quite sure how Manaan's plotline is going to interweave into the grand scheme of things, but considering we know that she's on the King of Adarlan's side is not exactly reassuring. I don't want her to be Celaena's enemy. I want her to be on Celaena's side. I want them to kick butt together. And I think she might eventually be on Celaena's side. As much as Manaan insists that she doesn't have like a heart or whatever, she definitely acts like she has a conscience. So I get the feeling that she's going to realize that Celaena's side is the right side to be on. I'm really interested to see how Manaan's character develops, because already in just this one book we've seen how she warmed up to Abraxos and how she saved Petra and how she thought about the Croatian witch's words to her. After all, someone or something always ends up melting the Ice Queen's heart. Next, I want to talk about the Rifthold storyline. We're introduced to Aedion, who is Aelin's cousin and childhood best friend, and at first, I hated him. Initially, he's just this arrogant, cold traitor general, and then we see that he's working with the rebels. I liked him a lot. Well, not a lot, but I liked him a lot more than I expected I would. I really admired how deeply and fiercely loyal he was to Aelin, and how fierce he was. Like the way he slaughtered all 6 of those guards that were running after Ren. It was like how Celaena slaughtered all the rebels when they had kidnapped Chaol. It was just so slayful. Also, the way he and Chaol kind of formed that really sketchy, tentative trust, just because both the men had Aelin's best intentions in mind. I've made it abundantly clear in my Throne of Glass book review and my Crown of Midnight book review that I love Chaol, and I still do. He's trying his best to do what's best for both Celaena and Dorian, and that puts him in a really difficult decision because it's like he can't choose which side he's on. His friendship with Dorian is so strained, and it kind of hurts to read about because they've been best friends forever. Dorian is someone I had like no sympathy for in this installment, and it's weird because if it were any other character under his circumstances, you know, he's struggling with a lot. He has his newfound magic, and he lost the girl that he likes, and he's losing his friend, and his friend is keeping secrets from him, and he feels really alone. If it were any other character who had those problems, I would probably sympathize with them. But the fact that it's Dorian, I couldn't. I don't like him. He annoys me. He just comes off really childish, and everything was 1,000 times worse when he started hanging out with Sorsha. The Dorian-Sorsha relationship was the worst thing about this book. I can't remember ever being so against a ship since like Warnet. Their relationship was so sudden. I felt like there was no development. They didn't even know each other. Also, their relationship in itself, you know, regarding their respective positions, it felt unhealthy. Like Sorsha has had this big crush on Dorian ever since like he smiled at her when she first arrived in Rifthold. It was silly, and she had this kind of like tween girl fawning over Justin Bieber vibe whenever she interacted with Dorian. To me, it felt like a celebrity dating a fan, and I don't really think that's a healthy relationship because it really affects their equality in that couple. I have never felt so emotionless while reading a death scene when Sorsha was beheaded, because I didn't care about her. Literally, she was less than irrelevant to me. And the plot twist about her being a traitor, it did nothing for me. I stopped disliking Dorian when he finally stood up to the king at the end. Those are the moments that I like Dorian, when he stands up against the king, when he actually acts like he could be a ruler of a kingdom. And he did do that at the end. He acted like a king, he acted like a ruler, he acted like a hero, and that's the Dorian that I can respect. Like, I was even pretty stressed out when the King of Adarlan put the collar around Dorian's neck, because I was like, oh god. Oh god. Okay, also, random note, we know that Dorian's powers manifests in ice, and Rowan also has ice magic, right? And from what I've gathered from the books, your element that your magic manifests in has to do with your blood, right? Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm like usually wrong about a lot of things. But from what I could tell, it's based on like your bloodline. Like that's why Celaena has fire, because she's one of Brannon's heirs. So does Dorian have some kind of like distant connection with Rowan? Or like even with Faye at all in general? Or is he just like, does he accidentally have magic? And now let's get to my favorite storyline, Celaena Sardathians. At first I was irritated with her. She was drowning in her own self-pity, and I couldn't help but feel frustrated. But eventually Rowan started breaking her down and stripping her of her pretenses, and I finally saw the appeal of Celaena. I finally connected with her completely, which is something I've been really struggling with the past 2 books. Her vulnerability and her sadness, it just touched me genuinely. And when she finally started to actually try during her training with Rowan, I started loving her. When she started training on her own against the magic ward barrier, I was impressed. And when she defeated the Vaugs, burned them up, I was so proud of her. The way she controlled her magic was just so great. When the Vaugs were feeding off her agony, she kind of had an Insurgent Triss moment where she realized, no, I'm not done yet. I still have stuff to do, and this time I'm gonna fight. And eventually, as we delved deeper into the book, we also saw Celaena's childhood backstory, which I found really intriguing. Okay, it seems to me like the King of Adarlan was paying quite close attention to Celaena, considering he put like that dark worm in her mind that made her lose control. So if you're paying that close attention to her, how do you not realize when she is in your own court as your champion? How do you not see it? But anyway, my favorite part of this book wasn't Celaena's extreme character development, though I really enjoyed that. It was actually, without a doubt, Rowan Whitethorn. I'm claiming him. I put my claim on him. You can't have him. He's mine. He's my new favorite thing, not only in this book, but in this whole series. He's so wonderfully focused and intelligent and just perfect. I love him. I love him so much. His relationship with Celaena is the best thing Sarah J. Maas has ever written in this series. It is so incredibly well done and developed. Like, Celaena and Dorian's relationship was like sketchily developed, and then Celaena and Chaos was just a little bit better, but holy crap. Celaena and Rowan's was the most flawless thing ever. At times I was worried that it might go into romantic territory, but it didn't, and I'm so happy about that. They have that special sibling bond, that sense to protect one another without the complications of romance. He's like a protective older brother, and I love that dynamic. I love that they're Karanam, which I guess is like this series' version of Parabatai. I love when Rowan saw Celaena's scars on her back from Endovier and just freaked out for a little bit and then demanded that they share a room so that he could look after her. I loved that Rowan tried to go after Celaena through the magical barrier and his friend had to hold him back. I loved that Celaena bargained for Rowan's freedom, and I love that Rowan took a blood oath to Celaena. Their friendship is like my favorite thing in the world, and I hope it remains that way. Remains a friendship. A good, solid, loyal friendship. And because I still love Chaol, I have to mention the sad deterioration of Chaol and Celaena's romantic relationship. I hated Dorian for telling Chaol that he couldn't accept him or Celaena for what they were fully, and I hated him even more for being right. I hated how Chaol knew that when Celaena returned, they just couldn't be together anymore. I hated how after so long, Celaena finally took off the amethyst ring. I hated how Celaena told Rowan that she tried killing Chaol and that that shouldn't have happened if he were her mate. I hated that so much because I love them together. And that also means if Chaol's not her mate, then who the hell is? Because I don't want her to meet anybody else. I'd rather her be alone, which is terrible, but I seriously don't want to be introduced to a new love interest. We've already had 2. 3 if you count Sam. Seriously, I don't want a new love interest, even if it's Rowan, because A, he's mine, and B, I love their brother-sister relationship dynamic way too much to sacrifice it for a romantic one. Maybe Sam should come back to life. Maybe he's her mate. God, Heir of Fire was just so emotional and intense, and it wrecked me. It was good. Maybe not at first, but once you get into it, it's just this incredible roller coaster ride that you never ever want to get off of. I'm consistently amazed at how much Sarah J. Maas improves with each book. And I can't even imagine how mind-blowing the 4th installment is going to be, which as of today doesn't have a title. But yeah, the next book is going to be epic. I know it. Celaena's ready. She's in control of her powers, she's trained, she's accepted her position as queen, and she has a plan. And we're finally going to be meeting Erevan Hamel, the guy who carved Celaena into the deadly weapon that she is. I'm excited. I'm so excited. 5 glorious stars to Heir of Fire. Tell me your thoughts. Did you love it as much as I did? I really hope so. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day and happy reading. Goodbye. Hey everyone, I hope y'all are having a great day, and today I'll be talking about Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. Of course, the clock has to do the thing. Coke break. It's like a Coke advertisement. If I had Dr. Pepper, I'd be drinking that.